So this first track is a beginning place for you if you've never done that much praise, or you've not had much self-esteem, or if you've never done any meditation practice. This would be a good starting place. I'm going to go easy on you. I'm going to try to make it easy. I'm not going to make it too difficult or too long. So it's a nice way for you to ease into the practice of self-esteem and self-confidence. And as with, say, bodybuilding, the amount of sets and repetitions when it comes to lifting weights is the amount that we grow. The choice is ours as to how much we choose to get into it. I remember when I used to go to the gym and be into lifting weights, I had the understanding that people who were really into bodybuilding would do 10 sets of 10 repetitions on a weight training task. So if they were doing squats with a barbell on their shoulders, they would do 10 repetitions, 10 times up and down, and then they'd do that 10 times, 10 sets of that. Whereas ordinary gym goers would do maybe 3 sets of 10, or even 3 sets of 8 or 6. I'll leave it up to you as to whether you enjoy this and you want to become a praise builder, a mind builder. These tracks have nothing to do with your body. In some of the later tracks, some of the more difficult tracks, even the advanced track, I might say something like that. You're attractive. I'm talking about your kindness is nice for people to be around. I'm not talking about your body. I'm never really talking about your body in this. It's more about your personality, your mind, your kindness, your esteem of other people, your confidence in yourself and confidence in other people. So I'll get started with this with A. A is for acceptable. You're acceptable. That you can be accepted. That you should be accepted. If you could be any different, you probably would be. If you could be better, you'd do that, wouldn't you? You're doing the best you can. So that's got to be acceptable. You're acceptable. You're balanced. You're balanced in the sense that you're balancing all of that criticism that you've got over so many years, decades even. You are choosing to balance that at this moment with some training in self-praise. You have absolutely been, probably, if you've just been exposed to the usual amount of criticism that we get in life, you have probably been pulverized by criticism and punishment through the times in school, through your family life, through your time with friends, growing up, even in the workplace. So at this time, we're going to balance that training to retrain your mind and bring it back to a state of balance, a point of equilibrium, to even out all that criticism. We're going to do some training on praise, praising you. You are changing. C is for changing. Just the fact that you're putting on this track, it's something new, something different. You might end up training with this beginner track for a few weeks, maybe even a month or more, before you decide to move on to the longer tracks. And that's a good way of easing into this practice. Just go easy. Once you feel comfortable with this track, you can move on and try some harder tracks, some tracks that contain more praise that might be harder for you to take. You're changing by doing this, and you're opening to change, and that's a good thing. Because life is always changing and we're always changing. So you're actually accepting yourself and accepting your life and being kind to yourself by committing to equalizing out all that criticism and at least bringing yourself to a state of equilibrium, like a balance point. If all that criticism has taken you to negative 100 in your esteem of yourself, such a lack of esteem, lack of confidence, then at least committing to equalizing that. For starters, at least bringing it back to a 0 point, zeroing the balance, the scales, and praising until confidence and esteem is back to a 0, so balance point. So you're changing by doing this, and it's a positive change. D is for developing. You're developing yourself. If you develop your self-esteem and you get more confident, then you'll be developing happiness, and you'll be developing in relaxation, and you'll be developing probably more friendship with yourself, more friendships with other people as you connect with them more, and you get that confidence just to be yourself. You share yourself more with other people. You're developing in lots of different ways. E is for equal, that you're equal. You're equal to everyone and everything. There's nobody who's better than you in the world. In the same way, there's nobody who's worse than you. This practice isn't about giving you a big ego. It's not saying you're better than anybody else, but it's also not giving into that small ego stuff of that I'm worse than other people. It's also not saying you're exactly the same as anybody else. It's just saying you're different, but you're equally respectable, you're equally esteemable, and you can be equally confident to other people. Whatever you've lived through, whatever you're like, that you're equal. You're equally deserving of appreciation and your own affection. F is for fantastic, that you are fantastic, and I'm pumping up the iron. I'm getting you to pump some iron now with this by saying you are fantastic. The previous ones have been a bit easier for you to take, but this one is saying you're fantastic. So this bit of praise is probably not as easy to swallow when we're totally new to this practice. Our mind might say, no, I'm not fantastic. But I'm saying F is for fantastic, like a mum when her son comes back home from school, her high school aged son comes back from school, and she sees in his bag sticking out a bit of paper with a big red F with a circle around it. And she says, "What's that?" And he tries to hide it. His face goes red. He's ashamed. And the mum can tell that something's painful for him. And eventually he meekly says, I failed my maths exam. And the mum, she's done some training in this, And she can tell that he's going to learn the lesson of whatever, if there is any lesson for him to learn out of any mistakes that he made with that. So she knows that he's already feeling bad. So she decides to to esteem him unconditionally, to show her confidence in him, that even when he fails, she always loves him and respects him. So she surprises him by giving him a big pat on the back and says, F is for fantastic. You're fantastic. Come on, let's go out and celebrate. I'll take you out. What's your favorite food? I'll take you out for pizza. And she takes him out and really looks after him, helps him to feel some relief about all that shame, that it's okay. You don't need to be ashamed. We all make mistakes. That sort of parenting is saying, I'll always forgive you, I'll always support you, I'll always take care of you, and I'm not going to put you down. That is the sort of confidence that mum is showing. Esteem is showing confidence. So it's a different idea of confidence. It's not saying that I'm confident that I can perform in so many ways, I'm confident that I can achieve all these things. It's saying whether I achieve it or not, whether I perform or not, I can have confidence in myself. I can esteem myself. I can show confidence in myself. Give myself confidence. And G is, this will be the last one, because I suppose I'll call this one just the A's and the B's, because we're just beginning to learn the alphabet of self-praise, self-appreciation, self-affection, self-esteem, self-care, self-confidence. I'll finish off on G, just to make this track nice and short for you, that G is for generous, that you are generous, that you're being generous with yourself to listen to this track, and that you're going to be generous with yourself to give it a good shot, maybe for a month or 2 months, 3 months, to be generous with yourself every day or whenever you can, to put on this track, or even the harder tracks, the longer tracks, and you can be generous with yourself, that you are generous with yourself, to do this, to find out what happens when I do this, when I get into self-esteem, when I esteem myself and get confident in myself. And that's a nice place for us to finish on the beginner's track. Well done for doing it.